Tottenham Hotspur, a club that divides opinion amongst the fan base. Guys, how you doing? Please smash the like button, subscribe if you're new here, and yes, the discussion around Thomas Frank goes on. I've never seen a fan base so divided in opinions about a manager. It's not just Frank. You could talk about players we have. You talk about the board. It is a very divided club right now, regards with the fans, the opinions, those who are behind Frank, those who are not, the fans that didn't want Frank here, wanted a better manager, didn't want Ange to leave. Everything's Levy's fault, from the recruitment over God knows how many years. The blame put in so many different places. The fan base continue to argue. Rival fans, social media, Sky Sports, Talk Sport, they laugh at Spurs. And it is just a club which is just, I don't know how to explain it, but bit of a shambles, to be honest. When you look on the face of it, we have this fantastic stadium. We've got a great history, Spurs. Not so much in recent years, where we've just kind of been trying to get in the top four, and sacking managers after manager after manager, recruiting poorly, disappointment, frustration amongst the fan base. Arguments, disappointment, anger, protests. It's I just don't know any other club like Spurs. I'm sure there probably is, but you know, when you support Spurs and you see everything and you speak to people and you watch, you've seen how it all playing out over the last God knows 25 years. I suppose just kind of use that as since Enoch has taken charge. Everything's online, easy access, things spread, X, YouTube, whatever platform you use, and everyone's talking about Spurs. Nobody knows how Spurs will ever get better. It's like, okay, Frank comes in, he's going to need time. Any manager needs time. The problem is Frank big enough for this job? Now, when I listen to him, especially recently, it doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, I've got to be honest. But I guess he's trying to be positive. He's, you know, we got smashed 5-3 the other night, and it's not good, right? You can't say, it was a good performance when you get smashed 5-3. You can say that certain players may have played well, being more forward thinking was better, but at the end of the day, we lost the game and conceded 5 goals. And some of those defensive mistakes were just shocking. And Frank is supposed to be a defensive, pragmatic coach, but he's struggling. He's struggling to get to grips with the role as Tottenham coach. Now, again, I'll go back to say managers do need time. They do. They need to build their squad over years. But it's just, there's so much disagreement and debate about Frank. And that is a problem, isn't it? Because if everything was going okay, or there was some kind of progress, or, you get some defeats, but you can see what the team's trying to do. You can see players improving. You can see that Spurs are doing something positively this season. And yes, people will point that, Champions League, we're still in a chance to get out of the league format. In the league, we're touching distance from European places still. We're still in the FA Cup. We've had injuries, which will come back. So there's so many different angles you could take this. Frank, he's struggling with a style of play, doesn't know to defend or attack. You know, he talks about, you know, making sure that, you know, you have a good defence. And if you want to build a good side, a winning side, that the defence is the priority, which is correct. But the trouble is, the defence is not looking any better as the season's going on. The attack is way off it. He doesn't know his best lineup. Yes, there's some key players out still, and we have had injuries throughout the season. But this changing the system, changing players, it's got to get to a point where Frank kind of settles with a style of play and his kind of favourite starting lineup, or who he thinks is the best players to lead the team forward. So there's so much stuff around Frank, and it doesn't help when, you know, you have headlines from Ramon Vega, which, you know, you might not like his opinion anyway, or might not have a lot of respect for him. You know, Frank doesn't have the balls. You know, then talking about Ange, and, you know, fans saying, well, at least Ange had a go, and Ange stuck to his principles. And yes, we got absolutely battered last year, but the counter argument is, but Ange had so many injuries, and then Ange prioritised, you know, the Europa League, and just did not do anything in the league, and hence why we finished 17th. There's just so many opinions around Tottenham Hotspur right now. It's absolutely crazy. And, you know, I asked a question to you guys as a fan. How do you deal with all of this? The different opinions. You have your own opinion. You have your own kind of targets for your team. You know, you may want to give Frank time. You might not want Frank in. You might not think he's big enough manager to take Spurs forward. We don't know. We do not know if Frank is the right guy. He's here right now. He has to work with the players he's got. There's so much work to do. It's more down than up right now, I would say. And as I said, Frank does need to start sticking with a style of play, you know, and he's kind of regular starting 11. You know, we all know kind of which players will be starting week in, week out. You know, we could talk about the goalie, we could talk about Van der Ven, Romero, question marks on Romero again. And when Spurs look a bit of a mess, Romero form, I think, really goes downhill. You know, Romero needs to be in a kind of a stable, good performing team to get the best out of him. He's not the sort of guy who's gonna pick up the team and push him as the captain to kind of get you through difficult moments. He's rash. He loses his discipline. He's inconsistent, and I just think there's definitely a connection with Romero. When Spurs are generally struggling, Romero struggles too. Yeah, he's not consistent. He's not. And you know, the mistakes the other night at PSG, just poor, and slowly his game is kind of getting worse, and fans are questioning Romero. Do we need to change him? Do we need to replace him? Do we need someone better? And I get it. You know, he's not consistent, and you know, you want your captain to be the consistent player in difficult moments, and unfortunately right now Romero is letting the team down. So you got Van der Ven at the back. You know, I think he's got so much potential. I really do. And then you have the midfield, Palhinha, obviously. He's got to be playing most weeks. But it's got to be alongside somebody who can, you know, move the ball forward in midfield. Bentancur, I don't think is the guy. So it's either Bentancur or Palhinha to start in the team week in, week out. You can switch them up, change them around, whatever. And then you've probably got to look at, you know, who else have we got in midfield? You know, you've got Sarr, who's very limited technically, but he's got good energy, he can get up and down. He's not perfect, he's inconsistent as well. Then you've got like the likes of Archie Gray, who really hasn't got going at Spurs, but maybe he could have a run in the side, see what he can offer. But he's got to be playing, isn't he? Most weeks, he's got to be playing in this side to kind of get to grips with, you know, the team, what he needs to do. You know, what does the manager want from him? Bergvall again, and a player which, has got a lot of potential, but he's nowhere near the finished product. He runs around a lot, sometimes he gives the ball away, but then he is positive, he gets forward, he tries hard. We've seen him score this season. He, once he gets on the ball, he's brave to run with it. But, when the team behind him are kind of struggling, it's not helping him either, is it? Because, if you had a consistent team which was performing well most weeks, then it would help Bergvall in his game. The trouble is Bergvall is lost in the system, in the team, because the team doesn't know what it is. And who else have we got in there in the team in midfield? Basuma's, I don't know what's happened to him, injured and probably be sold. And then you look at our forward line, and we got Richarlison up front, who nobody rates. Everyone wants him gone, but he's actually scoring goals. It's crazy, yeah? And then the other thing is, are we providing with enough chances? No, we're not. And are we harsh to berate him like we do? And the trouble is, when we've seen him in games this season, he's had chances and he's fluffed them. But because we Spurs have such limited chances, it kind of really highlights, him not scoring, and we love to put the blame on players because he hasn't finished the chance. So, look, Richarlison is not the solution long term for Spurs, but he's scoring goals, he's contributed to the team, and the team do need to create more chances for him. When we saw Mawani, the other day, finally we've seen something from him. It's taken months to get him going, but he has got something about him. He set up that goal for Richarlison, he scored 2 goals. He's got to be a start in the team week in, week out. And playing Richarlison and Mawani for that game was good. It produced, didn't it? We scored goals, it created stuff. And, because our wingers, other than Kudos, are not great. Johnson's dropped out the side completely. He can't find a place in the team. Many fans don't rate him. Many fans love him because he got that goal in the Europa League final. And he scored a lot of goals last season. Young, but he's not that young, But it's just this player's... Johnson, is he good enough? No, he's not. Is he okay as a squad player coming off the bench? Yeah, maybe. But, he's not going to start in this side. Kudos, what's going to happen to him? He's kind of fallen off a bit. As I said, like, Frank has been prioritising the defence. He's not been working on the attack. And it's just all not functioning very well. Players like Kudos is not performing. And across the whole team, many players are underperforming, and people are questioning the quality. People talk about that, we're so far away from other teams in this league, and we don't have the quality to progress the ball. We don't have the people who can keep hold of the ball and pass the ball, and we're just kind of like a counter-attacking team, or a direct team, or a team who plays in moments. We can't control games, we can't manage games, we're too up and down. And then everything, people then start looking at the manager's tactics, and it's all just one vicious circle of blame here, blame there, and it's just a mess. Spurs, when I kind of take a step back, they need some stability. They need some calm, just to slow this down. The results are not helping, of course, and not winning at home is a massive problem. The football we're playing, which is very uninventive, is a massive problem. Yes, we saw better signs against PSG, but it's a completely different match. PSG gave you the space. It's a European fixture, it's a little bit slower. PSG are so confident in themselves that they will, give you some chances, but they know they will score double as amount as you. So they have no problem with surrendering a little bit of possession because they're so good. Look, it's a completely different competition. Europe is different to the Premier League. You know, in the Premier League, it's so different, and I don't know how, you know, that Spurs playing like that in the Champions League translate to playing in the league. We'll have to wait and see in the forthcoming games. But there does need, as I said, to be a little bit of calm from the fan base. Everybody's just, I do it myself, frustration, annoyance, questioning. You know, what's the manager doing? Or these players, are they good enough? They are, sure. And I say to myself, yes, these players can do better. Yeah, they can attack. They can pass the ball forward. They can create chances. And then I look at our defending at times, and it's just so bad. You know, we question our fullbacks. They're like Porro. You know, people say he can't defend, but he's a wing back. You know, he's got some good statistics over the last few seasons, but he's inconsistent as well. You know, he's not perfect. But who else is there? Doggy. You know, it really, I'm not sure about him either. Like, you see some good stuff from him sometimes on the pitch, but his final balls are awful. He's not reliable. Yes, he's been injured. That hasn't helped. In and out the side, you've got Spence there, who's a right back playing left back. You know, he's been struggling as well recently. And it just, I think everybody is struggling. The players are struggling due to just the system, the tactics, changing the team lineup, changing the formation week to week. This kind of pressure that Spurs, you know, they have to win games, they have to play well. And Frank is, you know, he's struggling to kind of get it all together. And yes, he does need time, but the problem is, you know, it is a results business. And if fans are not seeing progression, if Spurs play at home and we continue to lose, you know, it's not going to be accepted by the fan base. And, you know, Frank has got to start winning games, you know, and sticking to the system, sticking to a style of play. And yes, it might not always work. You know, there's some good sides in this league. It's very competitive, you know, and, you know, you've got to fight for everything. You know, tactics, even changes in a game are so important. If the game is not going well, making the right substitution, you know, not waiting too long, changing the system if it's not working in the game, adapting. And Frank is known for his adapting, isn't he, as a manager? Frank is known for improving players, but unfortunately no one is improving at the moment. Look, I know I'm rambling on here, but there's just so much to say about this team. A lot I'm hearing is that kind of people are questioning if Frank can do it at Spurs. Can he make that step up? You know, he's all over the shop right now, isn't he, with what he's trying to do with Spurs. He's trying to work it out, and it is so early. What, 17 games in across all competitions. Obviously recently we've won 3 in 11 games. It's not great, not winning at home. The away record was good. Obviously we got smashed against Arsenal, and things like this, like the Arsenal match, the Chelsea match, you play awfully in those games. And they're the biggest games for the Spurs fans. That's the games where you want to see your team perform and battle and show that passion. And in both games, it was an absolute dross and unacceptable. And then you go away in the Champions League and get smashed 5 goals. Yes, against a very good side. But look, guys, you know, all of this will play out. Frank is here. You know, they're not going to sack him now, you know. As a fan, you look for small things, right? Like many of you, like what you saw against PSG, there might have been some performances you liked. You might be happy that we scored some goals, but then, you know, your kind of sensible head thinks like, cool, we still got smashed, so I can't celebrate too much. I can't point out the good stuff because, you know, you'll get laughed at. You still lost the game. It's like on TalkSport the other night when Jamie O'Hara was talking about, you know, look, there was some good signs. But at the end of the day, Jason Cunningham is like, what are you talking about? You just got absolutely smashed. How can you be happy with that? And he's right. You know, we did get smashed. So, you know, but, you know, as a fan, you've got to look for something right in your side, because it's so bad right now in performances, in results. Any small inkling of improvement, you kind of look at that and you think, well, can we build on that? Can Frank build on that? Can Frank, when he plays against Fulham at home, can we be intense? Can we take the game to Fulham? Play less defensive players, push up the pitch higher. Yes, it might make you a bit more vulnerable at the back, but you're more likely to win the game if you take the game to the opposition and create chances and pressure them and press them. And there are goals in this team. It's just working out the right formation, working out the right player combination. It's all about Frank setting up the team having some belief in the manager. And what happened that time with Van der Ven and Spence just kind of storming off doesn't look good, does it? It doesn't look like they have the respect for the manager doing things like that. And you wouldn't see players do that for certain managers. They wouldn't dare. So there's a lot going on with the players as well, their psychology of them, their mentality. We have some talented players, we have some good players. I think we do have some top players, I do. It doesn't look like it at the moment. There are players that clearly need to be shipped out. But I think it all looks so awful. And, you think, oh, we could ship out most of these. It's because we're not performing and we're not getting results and it's not working on the pitch. So we're questioning everything. And Frank has got a tough job in his hands, but he's got to take responsibility and he's got to get a grip of the side. And as I said, easy for me to say this, but as an observation, as a fan, you've got to stick to a style of play. You've got to stick with the closest team possible. Yes, you've got to rotate, of course, with all these competitions. You've got to be sensible. But like I said, it's up to Frank now. So guys, please leave your comments, smash the like button. This was a bit of a ramble, but I had to get it off my chest because, it messes with your mind, this club. And it's so many different opinions, and I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong, it's your own opinion, but there's got to be a bit of calm in the side, in the fan base somehow, just to take a step back for a little bit and let Frank get on with it. And if he fails, he fails. I hope he doesn't. I like Frank. I think he's got good intentions. So yeah, fingers crossed. Guys, anyway, catch you soon. Take care of yourselves. And as always, come on you Spurs.